Cloudcast Media. Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg with Cloudcast Media, and we are so thrilled to have in the studio with us today Stephen Minix. He's the Vice President of Community for UpMetrics. How you doing, Stephen?
I'm well. I'm alive. It's Friday.
It is a live Friday. The weather is great over there. Joined by my longtime friend and frequent co-host, the inimitable Neville Villamoria. He's the Senior VP of Marketing and Communications for Mission Fed Credit Union. Neville, always a good day when you're sitting next to me and doing some co-hosting.
Thank you, Drew. It's always a privilege and a fun day.
And it is going to be a fun day. And we are now in our 20th year of our Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest-running community podcast, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. More than 6 decades. They're just doing great things for people in San Diego County, whether it's food insecurity or whether it's a homeless or Alzheimer's or 75 other things. They are just so spot on. Stephen, just tell us a little bit about the mission of UpMetrics.
Yeah, I'd say at UpMetrics, our goal is very simple, trying to get capital to communities quicker. And what we do, we're a software as a service company, but we have a team, a really thoughtful team of folks that really help foundations, nonprofits, and impact investors use data and information and relationships to kind of realize the end goal of hoping to get capital to communities quicker so they can put that money to action and, hopefully get to that holy grail of impact.
Have you always been a data guy?
Never.
So
Never.
what happened? Did lightning strike you at?
I'll give you a lightning strike.
Yes.
Close your eyes for a second and imagine waking up and losing $8 million in grants in one day. And I was running after school programs and athletics for a school district in Los Angeles, and we lost out because we lacked an effective data strategy to articulate the outcomes we aspired to have, which is a pretty malarkey statement when you're working to put money in the hands of programs to help kids. So because I lacked an effective data strategy when I was running after school and athletics, I got hip to the idea of data storytelling and then found a partner, Drew Payne, and the Payne Family Foundation, and they were trying to build a solution for philanthropy. And I said, hey, I think I got an idea, and he had an idea, and thankfully they had a bunch of capital, and they were willing to put it together. So now, 10 years later, we're UpMetrics, and we're having a lot of fun doing it.
What district were you working for?
At the time, I was Green Dot Public Schools in LA, and before that, I was LAUSD, same school in LA.
Sure.
And so that was a pretty big bucket of cold water on the business that goes into how to help kids. You're like, it's not just to go want to do it. You have to have a business acumen, and that was a good, very painful lesson to learn, but it accelerated my development. I'll put it that way.
Right. So Neville, how did you come across Stephen?
I think we met a couple of times, again, in these social convenings where the local nonprofit sector, the social sector, is really trying to look for how to integrate data and do it authentically in relationships. So it's not a transactional model, it's really a relational focus. Yet we struggle with knowing what data, how to use the data, how to convert it into insights, and then how to tell that impact story. So that's kind of his superpower.
No, I think it's great. I mean, and those who don't believe in data, you'll certainly die in a silo. You've got to use it in this aspect of it. When you work with nonprofits in this area, are you working with certain types of nonprofits or all over the board?
It's kind of all over the board. I mean, the lived experience of nonprofit leaders, like we live through their work. We're not direct service providers. So the ecosystem of funders and nonprofits, they have local issues, they have zip code centric issues, they have holistic issues that go beyond their zip codes. But what we always start with is the nonprofit and say, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to do? Because if we start there versus start with who funds you, then what happens, we can help put bass in your voice when you start to put data and story to what it is you're trying to do, who you serve, how do you serve them, what is the quality of that service, is anybody better off? That's all them, they own that. That's not somebody else telling you. So whether it's workforce development, whether it's sport-based youth development, economic justice. There's a lot of ways to go into this because data and storytelling and human testimony is evergreen. It transfers to any issue.
Yeah, it's funny, Stephen, and this is all in Neville's wheelhouse as well. Neville and I have been fortunate enough to work with a lot of nonprofits over the years in this area, and certainly one of the challenges is having the nonprofit really focus. Well, what really is your mission? What really is your purpose? And have you really thought it through in this aspect of it? Do you work with some of the nonprofits in that area to say, great mission, that's great, but are you really doing it, or is there another way that you can meet those goals?
Absolutely. I mean, we start, we do a lot of work with our nonprofit partners on the impact framework and their impact. What are they trying to do? It starts with, what's your mission? What are your values? If you start there and then you connect data strategy to that, you can avoid the inevitable mission drift to go get money. Because once you start drifting to go get money versus owning your genius and owning your work, now you can be anything based on the conversation versus this is what we do, this is who we serve, and this is how we back into the data objectively, subjectively, qualitatively, quantitatively, whichever adjective you want to put on it. The point is, how do we empower you so that you can go do it and speak to it clearly, concisely, and consistently over time? Because that's what helps build that relationship with whoever's going to partner with you. So sometimes it starts all the way there. Others are really buttoned up there, and they just actually need help putting that into action and putting their logic model into action. So we meet you where you're at.
Yeah, I think I love your comment here. Why do funders and nonprofits tend to talk past, above, in and out of each other? Explain that.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's. I think we forget the collective mission. I'm an old PE teacher, high school basketball coach at a Locke High School in South Central Los Angeles. I care about the joint scoreboard we have. We don't have a scoreboard for funder, for nonprofit. We have a community scoreboard, which is like, are we collectively working together to get to what we want? So we always start there. Funders got to fund stuff. Nonprofits got to take in capital to execute their service. Well, it's a relationship. We got to teach that relationship. Otherwise, it lives and will stay transactional. And that's the icky thing we all know, doesn't feel good. So how do we avoid that? Close the proximity, help build relationships, use some information to put bass in your voice. All of a sudden, we're having conversation versus performance. And that's what we try to avoid.
Right. Neville?
So, Stephen, it seems to me that using the sports metaphor, how do we build bench strength? How do we extend franchise value? And how do we stop playing each other?
Ooh,
those seem to be the opportunities in front of us. And
absolutely.
Can you riff on that a little bit?
Absolutely. That's a great question. So I think the joint friend we have, Kamal Martin, talks about organizational fragility and how do we build up that patina needed to be successful in your social enterprise. Well, it comes with having a team around you, having people that understand what you're trying to do. And if you only look at me as a nonprofit in need versus me as a nonprofit as a value add to your work too, to realize, oh, you get capital out the door, and I can be a spot for that capital to do quality work. Well, now we got to talk about what that looks like beyond reporting, beyond you're a program officer and you have an objective, and I'm a nonprofit leader and I have an objective. No, we have a shared objective, which is whatever the work we're talking about doing together, how does it actually look in our town? How does it look in wherever it is that we care to do that work? Because if we look at it, the end destination, not the collection of inputs that we do collectively, we start to think about this as a team sport. And if you think about the team sport, it's hard to silo, right? It's hard for us to say, well, great, I'm a bullpen catcher. All I got to worry about is catching this ball. You're like, no, you're a bullpen catcher in preparation for a beautiful game that happens collectively over there. And keeping those things connected, the only way to do that is get out of Zoom, get in proximity to people, and start collapsing those relationships.
Yeah, well, there's a lot to be said about when you actually can sit across the floor from somebody and have that conversation. We all know that that human touch is so critical. And that we're chatting with Stephen Minix. He is the Vice President of Community for UpMetrics, joined by my colleague and co-host Neville Villamoria, Senior VP of Marketing and Communications for Mission Fed Credit Union. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest running community podcast. In our 20th year, we're pretty proud of that. Brought to you by, again, Mission Fed, doing great work in the community. You know, you mentioned about using all these metrics and all this business, very, very important. how do you measure your success? Okay, so obviously you've got the funder, you've got the fundee, so to speak, and when it's all said and done, how do you know they've been successful?
Yeah, I mean, the success is driven by what they're interested in doing, right? So we start again, go back to mission and values. What are you organized to do? Start there. But a funder will look at, do I have better relationships with these nonprofit partners of ours, right? And so that's one way we look at that. Will they grow the investment? A lot of our work is through capacity building cohorts. Funders fund work for a lot of nonprofits to work together, peer learning, all these things. Well, you can turn to the nonprofits and look at the learning space. Do they feel more empowered to do X? Is there better collaboration? But I'll keep it even more granular than that. A lot of the convenings we do, nonprofits are able to meet new funders and get access to new capital. Just 2 days ago, Mentor California got another $25,000 from a relationship they met in one event with the Quest Foundation, right? And so to me, if we continue to look at all this stuff through how much money did I get, or how many proposals did I send out, and what is my hit rate, we forget that sometimes it's just getting to meet people will help you close the proximity a little bit. So assets under management, there's a lot of different ways that people can do it, but it always lives with the folks, what they are trying to do, and are we helping them do that more efficiently? Are they getting better relationships established? So it kind of, we don't preordain what success looks like for them. We work collaboratively with them to figure that out.
Right. We are also joined now by my wonderful co-host in our third year working together, and that's Kristen Fogel. She is the executive director of San Diego Writers, Inc., and I know you have a question for Stephen.
I do. I'm intimidated by all the sports ball talk, but I am a nonprofit executive, so I'll try to jump in there and not make bad sports metaphors, but I can't promise I won't. From everything that I've been hearing, you do so much. What is one aspect of UpMetrics that perhaps we haven't talked about that you're kind of keyed and jazzed up about?
Oh yeah, nice to meet you, Kristen.
Nice to meet you.
I do have other metaphors I can bring to the party.
Please do, yeah.
Gardening all day.
Oh, okay.
The other thing, UpMetrics is a technology, right? We are a technology, and so a lot of this stuff that I get to do is the public-facing connection space, which I geek for as an old teacher. Mm-hmm. But we are buttressed with our technology, which is the core of who we are. It's software as a service, and it helps organizations actually kind of streamline a lot of the data collection, the data reporting, the advanced analytics. There's a lot to it. And so in some people's mind, in social entrepreneur work or social impact work, that stuff is not sexy, right? Because it's like, no, I want to be out in public.
Yeah.
But to be out in public and run and connect and do these things, you got to have your information and your business, buttoned up, and a lot of the technology that we use helps organizations do that so that they can be out in public and quickly speak to the quality of their work and those things. And so, the secret sauce in what we do, besides the convening, is the technology, and that's core to who we are.
Yeah. Something you said earlier too, just kind of the technology telling the story. Patrick Stewart, who's been on here before, CEO of the San Diego Public Library, he's been my mentor friend for many, many, many years. And he used to say that too, the financials, they tell stories too. I'm in the storytelling game, and they do the same sort of thing. So I think that's super powerful. Okay, so for someone like me that, doesn't know too much about tech, we have our CRM and things like that. Yeah. How is this different? How can this complement that? How does it work in conjunction?
Sure.
Tell me more.
And this world's small. Patrick and I are on a board together.
Amazing. He's on 17. He's like Neville. He's on every board. So just,
Shouts out to A Reason to Survive and National City.
Nice. Yeah. We love them.
Patrick's great. So your question, CRM. So there's a lot of technology. CRM, client relationship management tools. There's data management, grant management. There's all these tools that exist. And some of them are relevant for what you do, but not all of them are for what you do.
Yes.
Right. And so what UpMetrics does, think of it a little bit more like an aggregator. So whether it's your data from your CRM or data from proprietary systems or spreadsheets, it's got to live somewhere. I often talk about the pantry. I cook. I love to cook.
This is okay. We're not sportsing, but I eat some food, so we're good. Okay.
So if I go into my pantry, if I'm lucky enough, based on privilege and all these things, to have a pantry, I can make a gang of recipes from that. But if I don't know what's in my pantry, I'm probably going to go make the same recipe over and over because I'm like, I know I got pasta in there.
Okay.
I know I got whatever, right?
Yeah.
But if you have your pantry organized, your data,
yes,
you have your data, your impact data, your outreach data, your financial, whatever, it's your life, whatever that is, if it's organized, then marketing communications can get it quickly and understand it. Then program can get it, depending on your focus, right? If you're a nonprofit, obviously. A lot of what happens, I told a story at the beginning of this where I lost $8 million in grants, right? Well, at the time, after school programs was the 9th priority of the development team, and they had a list of 8. So your boy got really good at dancing and begging and trying to ask questions and dehumanizing me and stripping all of what I wanted to be doing. Instead, I was dancing the jig.
I hear that.
And so if
I
I
had to dance the jig.
you know what I'm saying? And so if I had the data, well, then when we lost $8 million, I could say like, yo, I didn't have the data, I didn't have the storytelling, I didn't have the blank, 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 blank. Well, that's what we're trying to avoid. What happens if people had access to the right level of information, relationships at the essential level, whether it's a funder side, a community leader side, a nonprofit side, and then help them meet each other? Well, the data, the storytelling that you are able to organize working with us, hopefully if we're doing our job right, will allow you to kind of move more into your power wherever you want to focus, whether it's marketing, whether it's development, or whether it's like evangelizing your own work. But you got to have that under you so that you can run, because we know time is zero sum. We don't have much of it, so we got to be effective. I try to avoid the word efficiency too much because I think it oftentimes strips humanity, but we do need to be urgently and a little bit more effective in our work. And sometimes that looks like efficiency.
You know, when we come back from break, we're going to continue that conversation with relationships, and that is something that Kristen and Neville and I cannot talk enough about. It's all about relationships. It's been about relationships when people started walking upright, and it's going to be about relationships in the next 4 billion years, if we even live that long, for God's sake, in that area. We're going to be right back with Stephen Minix, Vice President of Community for UpMetrics. I'm Drew Schlosberg, Cloudcast Media, joined by my co-host, Neville Villamoria, Senior VP of Marketing and Communications for Mission Fed Credit Union, and Kristen Fogel. She is the Executive Director of San Diego Writers, Inc., and we will be right back after this short break.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg, Cloudcast Media. This to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest-running community podcast, brought to you by the fine folks at Mission Fed Credit Union. 6 decades plus of doing great things in our community. So pleased to have in the studio with us today Stephen Minix. He's the Vice President of Community for UpMetrics, joined by 2 of the coolest co-hosts any person can have. That is Neville Villamoria, Senior VP of Marketing Communications for Mission Fed, and Kristen Fogel, Executive Director for San Diego Writers, Inc. Relationships, and relationships. That should be 1 through 2,000 in all of this. Neville, I'll start with you because you came out of the womb, even when you were in the womb, you were focused on relationships. It's in your DNA. You can't get rid of it even if you wanted to. Talk about that.
Well, at the end of the day, we're all, community. We're community creatures, social creatures. Connections matter. As this migration from checkbook philanthropy to trust-based philanthropy emerges, you're going to need to be attentive to how you can foster authentic relationships. I think in the first part of the show, if I was summarizing it, radical purposefulness, be super clear about who you are and not be compromised. trust-based philanthropy, because that's a relationship, but it's informed by data. Good stories are data with emotion, to your point, Karen. Authentic relationships, which is here we find ourselves right now, and then communities of practice. We all need each other, and so I think relationships sit at the center of almost all of those elements. Knowing your ikigai, your why, is part of purpose and relationship with yourself. Let's start with having a good relationship with oneself rather than jumping outside of there. Even the heart pumps blood to itself first, and then build authentic relationship with those that share your same values and aspirations. If you do that, we're going to make the world a better place. We're going to have better impact. We're going to feel good about what we do and have meaning and purpose in our work. What's wrong with that?
Well, there's nothing wrong with that, and I think that's so spot on in this area. And what always amazes me are when people just don't take that extra step. Slow yourself down. Introduce yourself to that person in that room. You have no idea what that person's connections are and who they're going to lead you to. And likability is important. Talk about that, Stephen.
Look, you got to be relatable. I try not to be. I was a high school PE teacher, and I try to avoid wanting to be liked because it's tough to do. Right? You got a different room. But if you do the core principles of like show up, listen to people. I listened to a previous show of yours talking about the power of journalism and listening, and I just think the power of listening to people and then remembering their name, and not their title, not their P&L, but like their name.
100%.
And if you're talking to a program person, like remember a program they talked about. I lead with my who I am, warts and all, because I want to be closer to you. What Neville's talking about, I want to be in relationship with you. But if you think of me as an avatar of like efficiency and data outcomes, that's it, bro. I haven't done my job. I haven't done the way I want to live. I am a human. I garden. I hoop. I try to hold on to like a relationship with my 3 daughters in a way that feeds them. Well, these are things I talk about in business, whether I'm on stage or whether I'm in a small space or whether we're breaking bread or at grabbing a beer. Either way, it's about the people. But I got to make space for you to share yours too, so that we can talk, we can listen. And I think when the differentiator for us that I try to always lead when I'm out in public on behalf of UP is we might be tech, but we aren't robots. We are people that use technology to do human work. And a dear friend of mine, Jared Aker, talks about, he told me a long time ago, he said, Stephen, relationships are your currency. And I was like, what? And he just kept saying, he's like, relationships are your currency. And I felt good. But then later I've kind of weaponized that for myself, and I'm rich because I care about people. I care about what they do, not your title, not your org. I care about you. And I think if you can do that and then be consistent and follow up, people will go with you. So the next time you say, come with me, they'll come. And they'll come with their own experiences and passions and heart, and you got to honor that, funder or not.
100%. Stephen Covey talks about the emotional bank account, which I can't talk enough about. And it's those people who have money in the bank account because you have a great relationship with that person. You can sit there and totally muff something up, and hardly anything is taken out of that account. And then you can be with somebody who is duplicitous, is pulling all these things, do the exact same muff up, and guess what? Bank account just went bankrupt in this aspect, and we can talk about 4 billion examples of it. Talk about, you got 3 really cool things to talk about, the challenges we face. Please chat about those, Stephen.
Yeah, look, nonprofits are under immense pressure to do a ton with the little, right? I used to say when I was in education, like you give me 2 dry erase markers and a basketball and you tell me to solve literacy. That doesn't really work. I need the resources, but I'm gonna take those 2 markers you gave me and that ball and I'm gonna try to figure it out. So you need to match kind of energy with these things, and nonprofits there's scarcity mindset, there's zero-sum funding, there's all these things that are being out there. And so the best thing you can do right now is better understand who you are, what you do, what you serve, who you serve, how does it look, what's quality look like, and get that so crispy so that you can authentically share it wherever you need. So there's going to be a major challenge for resources, like we know. But cream rises to the top, and that doesn't mean that because you don't get funding, you're not the top. It means you haven't been seen yet, or you haven't found the right pond. And then those relationships and those spaces, those communities of practice help close that. That's one. Another one I'd say is the funding world is under immense pressure to decide, like, if they put capital out in a certain issue, are they going to create pressure for them in the way they make their dollars, right? And so there's a real level of scrutiny and intentionality about why funders are funding things, why nonprofits are taking in funder things. And if they don't know each other, they're not going to be able to talk through it. So that's another one we see. But also, I would say one that I didn't even put into the thinking earlier was apathy and cynicism. And I think right now what we're dealing with is we don't know each other well enough, and so it's easier just to stay in your own lane than it is to go out and create new relationships and go put yourself out there, because we've seen, sometimes when you speak up, you get your hand smacked down. Sometimes you have a real social justice purpose. Right now in this climate, it might not be able to be funded by a certain institution. So to your point about those relationships, that equity in the bank, investing in those conversations upstream will allow you downstream to work through some of these heavy things. And I think if we keep looking at everything as through how do we quickly get things done, we're going to miss on the people that are doing real transformational work, and we're going to just fund what we know.
I love the folks. The focus you have on here is that reporting fatigue. And one thing we were very proud of at the Union Tribune on this, and Neville might remember this when I was fortunate enough to run community and public relations, and a nonprofit would come to us, whether it was Junior Achievement or pick one, San Diego Center for Children. They wanted us to sponsor something. I said, yeah, just fill this thing out. Well, you didn't send us everything. It's only a page. I go, that's it. You're busy enough as it is. I don't need to spend 50,000 hours to fill out a document so we can give you 5 cents. Are you kidding me? What do you want to do? What are you trying to accomplish? How are you going to do that? And that's it. And that's it. You're busy enough as it is, a nonprofit, my goodness, in this aspect. So when you ask a nonprofit who is right now, sitting there just holding on by just a thread to put together a 50-page report, absolutely. You want a death knell? You shouldn't be in the funding business in this. Neville, your thoughts on that?
I completely agree. One of my laments is how much we torture the nonprofit in service of the dollar. And again, if there's a trust-based relationship that's already established, and you're going to provide accountability and you're going to report out and say, this is what we did. It could be a 1-paragraph output. It could be a coffee. It could be whatever. You're staying in communication. But to have onerous reporting structure, what does that do? It privileges the most well-heeled nonprofits, so that perpetuates, I've got a grant writer, I got a storyteller, and so disproportionately affects, of those 13,000 nonprofits in San Diego region, it's only the top 100 that can continue to get funding because they'll, be willing to be tortured.
Yeah, and of course, when the end result on it is that good, we spent 400 hours doing this report. Unfortunately, the people we served, we weren't be able to add any more folks to that realm, whether it was scholarships and so forth on this. Stephen, you and I and Kristen and Neville can have this conversation for 16 hours and not even be close to doing it. And my good friends at Mount Soledad National Veterans Memorial would not like that. But they're definitely going to like to chat with you, I'll tell you that. What can we do? What can our audience do to support UpMetrics?
Yeah, I appreciate the question and the space. I think a lot of the work that I've been doing is national, but I live here. And so you're tethered between trying to do this work, wherever you're being pulled to, but I want to do the work in San Diego. And what I'm doing and what I continue to do is join the philanthropy serving organizations that are elevating learning. So if there's opportunities where nonprofits and funders are coming together and they're looking for some facilitation and conversation, I would love to be a part of that conversation. That's how Neville and I have connected quite a bit. But also, I'm looking for funders in this city to empower a lot of this capacity building work for nonprofits. I don't go to nonprofits and talk to them about doing more to be better. I go to their funding sources and say, you talked about capacity building. We have a way through peer learning and technology to help these nonprofits build up the capacities that they want to do. And so if there's funder friends that are co-conspirators for good that are interested in these conversations, I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you direct.
What's the website?
www.upmetrics.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn. It's my name, Stephen, Stephen. My last name, Minix, Minix. If you look me up on LinkedIn, you'll see a extremely large Kool-Aid smile picture, and that's me, and I'm always looking to talk to you.
That sounds great. And will you promise us that you'll make a return appearance? And would love to have you come in, if you're comfortable with this, with a client.
Nothing but a word.
It is absolutely, this is what we did, this is how it helped us, or bring 2 clients in, because it's always about, the end result on this here. And so if you're willing, we'd love to have you come back.
Nothing but a word. Love to be here.
Consider it done. Stephen Minix, Vice President of Community for UpMetrics. Thank you for joining us. Neville Villamoria, Senior VP of Marketing and Community for Mission Fed. Always a good day when you're sitting right next to me. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And Kristen Fogel, into your third year. Bless your heart for actually having to listen to me.
Looking for my party anytime soon.
We're going to have a big party in year 10. Okay, that's right.
Fantastic.
You're almost there. I'm Drew Schlosberg, Cloudcast Media. You've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, nation's longest running community podcast, brought to you by the fine folks at Mission Fed Credit Union. And to our audience, we hope you enjoyed the interview.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.